Communication has the power to change your life. It can open doors, build relationships, and help you influence the world. But speaking well isn't just about using big words or sounding confident. Real communication starts with clear thinking. When you learn to think deeper, ask better questions, and understand ideas fully, your words become stronger, smarter, and more impactful. This audiobook will help you train your mind to think before you speak, so you can express yourself clearly and confidently. You will learn how to break down information, challenge your assumptions, understand people better, and speak in a way that others respect and remember. If you want to communicate like a leader, this is where it starts. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss new powerful audiobooks. Now let's begin your journey to speaking smart, thinking sharp, and influencing the world with your words. Chapter 1. Think before you speak. Most people speak without thinking. They say whatever comes to their mind and hope others understand their message. But powerful communication doesn't happen by accident. It begins with clear thinking. When you think before you speak, your words have direction, purpose, and meaning. You don't just talk, you communicate, you connect, you influence. Thinking before speaking is not about speaking slowly or staying quiet. It's about pausing long enough to understand what you want to say and why you want to say it. Many arguments, misunderstandings, and broken relationships happen because people react instead of thinking. They speak from emotion, not clarity. When you speak from clarity, your message becomes stronger and people listen more carefully. One reason thinking before speaking matters is because words have consequences. Words can inspire or discourage. They can teach or confuse. They can calm someone or make them angry. Most people don't realize how much impact their words have. When you start thinking first, you become more aware of the weight your words carry. You become more intentional, and you start choosing words that bring value instead of damage. Before speaking, ask yourself simple questions like, what am I trying to say? What do I want the listener to understand? Why am I saying this? These questions guide your thoughts and help you form a clearer message. Instead of speaking from impulse, you speak from understanding. This creates respect, trust, and influence. Thinking before speaking also helps you communicate with confidence. Many people feel nervous when speaking because they aren't sure what they want to say. They start talking, get lost, and feel embarrassed. But when you organize your thoughts first, you speak with direction. Your voice sounds steady because your mind knows where it's going. Confidence doesn't only come from speaking loudly, it comes from speaking with clarity. Another benefit of thinking first is that you become a better listener. When you pause to think, you naturally pay attention to others more. Instead of waiting to reply, you try to understand their meaning. This helps you respond more thoughtfully. Good communication is not just speaking well, it's responding well. And responding well begins with listening. Sometimes people speak quickly because they fear silence. Silence makes them uncomfortable, so they fill it with unnecessary words. But silence is not a weakness. It's a tool that gives you time to think. Great communicators know how to pause. They don't rush. They allow space for their thoughts to form. When you slow down, your message becomes more meaningful. Thinking before speaking also helps you avoid emotional responses. When you get angry, sad, or excited, your emotions can control your words. Later, you might regret what you said. Pausing helps you separate emotion from logic. It gives you time to express your feelings in a clear and healthy way, instead of reacting in a harmful way. You can still express emotion, but you do it responsibly. One way to think more clearly is to simplify your thoughts. Many people overcomplicate their ideas, and when they speak, their message becomes confusing. Clear communication often comes from simple thinking. You don't need to impress people with complex ideas. You need to express ideas in a way that everyone understands. Simple words, short sentences, and organized thoughts make communication stronger. Another way to think before speaking is to understand your audience. What you say and how you say it should depend on who is listening. If you're talking to a child, your language will be different than if you're talking to a professional group. Clear thinking helps you adjust your message so it connects with the listener. When your message matches your audience, communication becomes more effective. Questions also play a big role in thinking before speaking. Instead of jumping to conclusions, ask questions. What do you mean? Can you explain more? Am I understanding this correctly? Questions help you gather more information before you respond. They protect you from misunderstanding and help you speak more accurately. The more information you have, the smarter your responses become. Thinking before speaking doesn't mean overthinking. Overthinking can make you silent out of fear. The goal is balance. Think enough to be clear, but don't think so much that you never speak. Speak with purpose, not panic, and not paralysis. Clear thinking gives you freedom, not pressure. To build this habit, start small. Before replying in a conversation, pause for just 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, think about your message. Over time, those small pauses turn into a natural habit. Soon, you'll think automatically before speaking, and people will notice how you communicate with intelligence and calm. When you practice thinking before speaking, you become someone others can trust. People come to you for advice because your words carry meaning. They know you don't speak just to speak. You speak to help, guide, and add value. This reputation can open doors in your career, relationships, and leadership roles. Clear thinkers become clear leaders, and clear leaders become impactful communicators. Thinking first also helps you stay true to yourself. Sometimes people say things just to please others or fit in. But when you think before speaking, you check your message against your values. You ask yourself if your words match who you are and what you believe. This helps you stay honest and authentic. Authentic communication builds deeper relationships and stronger trust. Another benefit is emotional intelligence. When you think first, you become more aware of what others feel. You speak in a way that respects their emotions and experiences. You learn to choose words that connect rather than divide. Emotional intelligence is one of the most valuable communication skills you can develop, and it starts with thoughtful speaking. Thinking before speaking will also improve your problem solving. When you pause and analyze a situation, you can identify patterns, find solutions, and communicate them clearly. People who speak without thinking often make problems worse. People who think first help solve problems logically and calmly. This skill is useful in work, school, and personal life. Clear thinking also helps you communicate with purpose instead of noise. Many conversations are filled with empty words that mean nothing. When you think before speaking, your words carry intention. You don't waste time. You speak with meaning. People respect that, because purposeful communication is rare. Finally, thinking before speaking makes you a lifelong learner. When you think deeply, you discover new ideas, new perspectives, and new ways to explain them. You become curious, thoughtful, and observant. This mindset keeps your communication sharp and evolving. The more you think, the more you grow. The more you grow, the better you communicate. Thinking before speaking is not just a communication skill, it's a life skill. It shapes how people see you, how you understand the world, and how you express your ideas. If you want to speak smartly, thinking must come first. Make it a daily habit. Slow down, reflect, understand, then speak. Your words will have more power, more clarity, and more impact when your mind leads before your mouth follows. Chapter 2. Ask better questions. Asking questions is one of the most powerful tools of communication. Many people think being a good speaker is about giving strong answers, but real intelligence shows in the questions you ask. Questions guide conversations, open new ideas, create understanding, and help you see the truth behind things. When you ask better questions, you don't just talk smarter, you think smarter. Most people ask shallow questions. They ask only to fill time or keep a conversation going. They ask simple surface questions like, "How are you?" or "What happened?" These questions can start a conversation, but they don't help you understand someone deeply. Better questions help you go beyond the surface and learn more about people, ideas, and situations. When you ask deeper questions, others feel understood, respected, and valued. Better questions also help you think clearly. When you question things, you stop accepting information without understanding it. You stop following something just because someone said so. You learn to think for yourself. Critical thinking begins with curiosity, and curiosity begins with questions. If you want to grow smarter every day, start asking why, how, and what does this mean, instead of just accepting information as it is. One reason asking better questions matters is because it helps you discover truth. Sometimes people assume things without checking if they are correct. They react to rumors, misunderstand messages, or believe things without evidence. When you ask questions, you test information before accepting it. This protects you from confusion and helps you avoid mistakes that come from misunderstanding. Asking better questions also builds stronger relationships. People feel more connected when someone takes time to understand them. When you ask thoughtful questions, you show that you care about what they think and how they feel. You're not just waiting to talk. You're listening to learn. This makes conversations deeper, more meaningful, and more memorable. People open up when they feel heard, and questions are the key to unlocking that connection. Another benefit of asking better questions is learning faster. Many people learn slowly because they wait for answers to come to them. They wait for teachers, bosses, or friends to explain things. But when you ask questions, you take control of your learning. You move from passive learning to active learning. You don't wait to understand, you go after the answer yourself. This habit helps you grow smarter in every part of life. To ask better questions, start with curiosity. Be interested in how things work and why things happen. Instead of just accepting something as normal, ask yourself, what is really behind it? Curiosity makes learning exciting instead of boring. It turns every situation into an opportunity to understand something new. When you stay curious, questions flow naturally. Another part of asking better questions is being specific. Weak questions are vague and unclear. Strong questions are focused and direct. Instead of asking, "Why is this bad?" ask, "What part of this is causing the problem?" or "What steps led to this result?" Specific questions bring clear answers. They help people think and give details instead of general responses. Asking better questions also requires patience. Sometimes people ask questions without giving others time to think or explain. They interrupt or rush to respond. Good questions need space. When you ask something meaningful, give the other person time to think. Silence is not a problem. Silence is a sign that thinking is happening. Let the silence work for you instead of rushing to fill it. A powerful way to improve your questions is to ask follow-up questions. Many conversations stop too early because someone answers a question and the other person moves on. But follow-up questions help you go deeper and understand more. If someone says they are stressed, don't stop at that. Ask what's causing your stress, or how long have you felt this way. Follow-up questions show real interest and bring valuable insight. Questions also help you solve problems. When something goes wrong, many people blame others or give up. Instead, use questions to understand what happened and how to fix it. What caused this mistake? What can be improved? What can we do differently next time? Problem solving becomes easier when questions lead the way. Good questions also help you think ahead. Instead of only reacting to situations, ask, "What might happen if I do this?" or "What is the long-term effect of this choice?" These questions help you see the future consequences of your decisions. Smart people think beyond the moment. They ask questions that help them make choices that lead to better outcomes. Asking better questions is also important in communication because it reduces conflict. Many fights happen because people assume things about each other. They react without understanding. Questions can calm a situation by bringing clarity. Instead of saying you never listen, ask, "Can you tell me how you understood what I said?" Instead of saying you don't care, ask, "What made you react that way?" Questions open conversations instead of closing them. When you ask questions, you also show humility. You show that you don't think you know everything. People respect you more when you ask rather than pretend. Even leaders who ask questions gain more trust because people see that they want to learn, not just give orders. Great leaders are curious learners first and speakers second. Asking better questions also makes conversations more enjoyable. Instead of talking about boring topics or repeating the same things, questions introduce fresh ideas. They bring energy into conversations and keep people interested. People love talking to someone who asks interesting questions because it makes them think in new ways. To ask better questions, listen carefully. Many people plan their next response while someone is speaking. They don't really hear what is being said. But when you truly listen, you notice details that lead to deeper questions. Listening is not waiting to talk. Listening is taking in information with full attention. The better you listen, the better your questions become. Another key to asking better questions is curiosity about people. Everyone has experiences, stories, dreams, fears, and lessons that can teach you something. When you treat people like teachers, your questions become meaningful. You stop talking only about yourself and start learning from others. Every person has knowledge you don't have. Asking the right questions helps you uncover that knowledge. Questions also help you understand yourself. Asking yourself questions is just as important as asking others. When you reflect on your thoughts and choices, you grow as a person. Why did I feel angry? What made me nervous? What can I learn from today? These personal questions help you improve your character and emotional strength. Asking better questions is a skill that grows with practice. At first you might forget to ask or feel nervous. That's normal. Just start paying attention to moments when a question could help. Pause and ask instead of assuming. Over time, this becomes natural and people will notice the way you communicate. They will see you as thoughtful, wise, and engaging. One of the most important things to remember is that good questions are not about proving you're smart. They are about understanding. When your goal is to learn, your questions become sincere and meaningful. People can feel the difference between curiosity and ego. Ask questions to learn, not to sound impressive. Asking better questions can change your life. It can improve your relationships, help you learn faster, make you a better listener, and strengthen your communication skills. When you ask, you grow. When you stop asking, you stop learning. The smartest people in the world ask the most questions because they know there is always more to learn. If you want to speak smartly, start by asking more questions. Questions open minds, open conversations, and open doors. Make curiosity a habit. Think deeper. Ask why. Ask how. Ask what if. Your questions will shape your communication, your decisions, and your future. The power of asking better questions is the power to understand the world more clearly and express yourself more intelligently. Chapter 3. Listen to understand, not to reply. Most people listen just long enough to respond. They wait for the other person to finish talking so they can say what they want to say. This is not real listening. Real listening means paying full attention with the goal of understanding the speaker's thoughts, feelings, and meaning. When you listen to understand, communication becomes deeper, clearer, and more respectful. People feel heard, they feel valued, they feel safe, opening up to you. Good listening is one of the strongest tools of smart communication, but very few people do it well. Real listening begins with attention. Your mind needs to be present, not wondering or thinking about something else. When someone speaks, focus on their words, tone, and emotion. Many people pretend to listen while their mind is busy forming a reply. They are waiting for a turn to speak, not trying to understand. This type of listening leads to misunderstandings and weak relationships. When you listen fully, you understand the full meaning, not just the words on the surface. Listening to understand also means listening without judgment. If you judge quickly, you stop listening. The moment you think you already know what someone means, you close your mind to new information. But communication becomes stronger when you listen with curiosity instead of assumptions. When you remove judgment, people feel respected and open up more. You learn more because you allow their full thoughts to reach you before responding. Sometimes listening means staying silent longer than you want to. Many people rush to speak because silence feels uncomfortable. Silence is actually a tool that gives others space to think and express themselves clearly. When you give someone time to finish their thoughts, you show patience and respect. You also give yourself more time to understand what they are saying. Silence makes conversations deeper instead of rushed. Listening to understand also means paying attention to body language. People speak with more than words. Their expressions, posture, and tone reveal emotions that words might hide. When someone says "I'm fine" but sounds frustrated or sad, real listening helps you notice the emotion behind the words. This makes your response more caring and thoughtful. Communication is not only about facts, it's also about feelings, and good listening helps you understand both. It's important to listen for the meaning behind the words. Sometimes people speak without fully expressing what they feel. They might talk around a topic because they feel nervous or unsure. When you listen deeply, you notice patterns, themes, and emotion. You hear what they mean, not just what they say. This creates stronger connections and helps you respond in a helpful way. Listening also requires humility. It means accepting that the other person has something valuable to say. People with big egos struggle to listen because they think their opinions matter more. They interrupt, correct, and talk over others. But true intelligence shows in how well you listen, not how much you talk. When you listen with humility, you learn more and speak with greater impact. Another key part of listening to understand is asking clarifying questions. When something is unclear, ask the person to explain more. Don't assume. Don't guess. Ask. A clarifying question might be, "What do you mean by that?" Or, "Can you explain a bit more?" Or, "How did that make you feel?" These questions show that you care about accuracy and want to understand the full picture before responding. Clarifying questions prevent conflicts because confusion often causes arguments. Listening also helps build trust. When people feel heard, they trust you more. They feel safe sharing their thoughts and problems. They see you as someone who understands them instead of someone who judges them. This trust helps in friendships, leadership roles, and even business. People follow those who listen, not just those who speak well. Good listening builds loyalty and respect. Listening also helps you control emotional reactions. When you hear someone say something upsetting, you might feel the urge to respond quickly, but quick reactions often cause more conflict. If you pause and fully understand the situation, your response becomes calmer and wiser. Many arguments happen because people react before understanding. Listening gives you emotional control. Good listening also improves your learning. Every conversation is a chance to learn something new. When you truly listen, you absorb information more deeply. You learn new ideas, new perspectives, and new ways of thinking. People who listen well learn faster than those who speak constantly. Listening turns conversations into lessons that help you grow. Listening to understand helps avoid misunderstandings. When you assume someone's meaning, you often respond incorrectly. This creates confusion and frustration on both sides. Listening carefully helps you respond accurately, reducing conflict and making conversations smoother. When people feel understood, disagreements become easier to solve. Listening also improves persuasion. If you want to influence others, you must first understand them. You cannot convince someone if you don't understand their fears, goals, or beliefs. When you listen deeply, you learn what matters to the other person. Then you can communicate in a way that connects to their needs and motivations. Influence begins with understanding. Listening also helps you communicate more clearly yourself. When you listen to how others express ideas, you learn new ways to explain things. You notice what works and what doesn't. You learn new language patterns, new examples, and new emotional cues. Listening sharpens your speaking skills because communication is a cycle. The better you receive information, the better you deliver it. Listening to understand makes you more patient. Instead of rushing to speak, you slow down and focus. This habit carries into other parts of life. You think more patiently, react more patiently, and solve problems more patiently. Patience gives you power because you control your responses instead of being controlled by emotion or impulse. Listening also helps you understand yourself better. When you give attention to others thoughtfully, you become more aware of your own thoughts and feelings. You learn to process ideas more deeply. You start responding in ways that match your values, not just your reactions. Listening strengthens your inner clarity. To become a better listener, start by giving people your full presence. Put away distractions like your phone or laptop. Make eye contact. Nod or respond in small ways to show you're paying attention. Focus on their words and emotions. If your mind drifts, gently bring it back. Listening is a skill that grows with practice. Next, avoid interrupting. Let people finish their thoughts. Interrupting sends a message that your words matter more than theirs. It stops communication instead of building it. Wait until they are done, then speak. This one habit instantly improves communication. Another way to listen better is to reflect what you heard. You might say, "So you're saying," or "It sounds like you mean." This helps the other person feel understood and gives them a chance to correct anything you misunderstood. It keeps conversations clear and respectful. Finally, practice empathy. Try to understand what the other person feels, not just what they say. If someone is upset, you don't need to fix everything immediately. Sometimes listening itself is the solution. People often feel better when someone simply hears them without judgment or advice. Empathy makes listening healing. Listening to understand transforms communication. It makes conversations meaningful instead of shallow. It builds trust, connection, knowledge, and emotional intelligence. When you listen well, people listen to you more in return. Your words carry more weight because you speak from understanding, not assumption. Smart communication starts with listening, not speaking. If you want to speak smartly, become a listener first. Focus on understanding before responding. Pay attention, ask questions, slow down and listen with care. When you master the skill of listening, your conversations will change, your relationships will grow, and your communication will become powerful. Chapter 4. Think slowly, speak clearly. Most people speak fast because they think fast. Their words come out the moment their thoughts form, and often the words are messy, unclear, or incomplete. Smart communication is not just about having good ideas. It is about presenting those ideas in a way people can understand. Clear speaking requires slow thinking. When you slow your thoughts, your words become more organized, meaningful, and easy to follow. Thinking slowly doesn't mean you are less intelligent. It means you are more careful. It means you take time to form complete thoughts instead of sending out half-built ideas. Fast thinking often leads to confusion because the mind jumps from one point to another without connecting the ideas. Slow thinking gives you structure. It helps you choose the right words, the right tone, and the right message. Speaking clearly starts with clarity in your mind. If your thoughts are messy, your words will be messy. Before you speak, pause, even for a moment. Ask yourself what you want the listener to take away. When you speak with purpose, people understand you better. When you speak without purpose, conversations feel chaotic and confusing. Many people rush when they speak because they feel pressure to respond. They think silence makes them look weak, awkward, or unprepared. But silence is not a problem. Silence is thinking time. Smart speakers use silence as a tool to gather ideas, adjust emotions, and prepare a strong response. When you pause before speaking, you show confidence, not weakness. Thinking slowly also helps you avoid saying things you regret. When your emotions rise, your words can come out sharp, rude, or careless. Anger, jealousy, stress, and fear can push you to speak before understanding what you truly feel. When you slow your thinking, you create space between emotion and expression. You still express your feelings, but you do it with calmness and clarity. This saves relationships and protects your image. Clear speaking also depends on simple language. Many people think using big, complicated words makes them sound smarter, but complicated speech often confuses listeners. Simple words allow your ideas to reach more people. Simple does not mean weak. Simple means strong, direct, and easy to understand. The smartest speakers explain big ideas in simple ways. Speaking clearly also means staying on one idea at a time. When someone jumps between topics, the listener gets lost. Slow thinking helps you organize your ideas in a natural flow. One idea leads to the next. Your message forms a path the listener can follow. Communication becomes smooth instead of scattered. Another part of clear speaking is controlling the pace of your voice. When you speak too fast, people struggle to keep up. They might miss important details. When you slow down, your words have space to land. People understand better. They have time to think with you. Speaking slowly improves the impact of your message because it gives meaning to your words. Slow thinking also helps you choose thoughtful examples. Examples make ideas easier to understand because they connect ideas to real life. When you rush, you forget to use examples, or you give examples that are unclear. When you slow down, you choose examples that support your point and make your message relatable. Another benefit of slow thinking is clarity of intention. Before you speak, think about why you are saying something. Are you trying to help, teach, share, comfort, argue, or prove something? When your intentions are clear to yourself, your words carry direction. People feel the purpose behind them. Communication becomes more powerful when intention guides expression. Slow thinking also helps you control over-talking. Many people talk too much because they speak faster than they think. They keep adding words, trying to explain more and more, until their message becomes long and unclear. When you slow your thoughts, you speak just enough. You say what needs to be said, and nothing extra. Short, clear messages are often more memorable than long, overloaded ones. Clarity in speech also comes from emotional balance. When you feel nervous or excited, words may rush out. Slowing your thoughts can calm the energy inside you, so your voice stays steady. The more emotionally stable you are while speaking, the more clearly you communicate. Calm minds express ideas better than anxious minds. Slowing your thinking also helps you understand your audience better. When you pause before speaking, you notice how the listener reacts. You can see if they are confused, interested, bored, or emotional. You can adjust your words to match their needs. Good communication is not one-sided. It adapts. Slow thinking gives you time to read signals and respond wisely. Thinking slowly is also connected to humility. It means you don't rush to assume you know everything. You leave room to learn more, understand more, and hear others fully. Quick thinking sometimes comes from ego, from wanting to appear smart or always right. Slow thinking comes from curiosity and respect. You think to understand, not just to win. When you speak clearly, you also become more persuasive. People follow speakers who explain ideas in a way that makes sense. If your message is unclear, no one will listen. No matter how important the idea is, clarity is influence. Slow thinking gives you clarity. Clarity gives you power. A helpful habit is to repeat your main point in a simple way. People forget easily. If your message is important, make sure your words guide them back to the main idea. You don't need to repeat the same sentence. You just reinforce the idea from different angles. When you slow down, you naturally remember to reinforce your point. Clear speaking also means removing filler words. When people think fast, they fill gaps with words like, honestly, basically, or literally. These words weaken speech and distract listeners. When you think slowly before speaking, you need fewer filler words because your sentences form smoothly. Your speech sounds confident and clean. Slow thinking also improves storytelling. Stories help you communicate lessons, ideas, and emotions. But stories need structure. They need a beginning, middle, and end. They need clear purpose. When you rush, stories lose direction and become boring or confusing. When you slow your thoughts, stories become powerful tools that help people remember your message. Another benefit of slow thinking is that it helps you stay grounded. When conversations move quickly, people often react based on assumptions. They misinterpret meaning because they don't slow down to check understanding. When you slow yourself, you listen more carefully, ask questions, and avoid mistakes. You respond from knowledge, not assumptions. Slow thinking also helps you speak with confidence. When you take time to form clear thoughts, your voice naturally becomes stronger. You don't worry about forgetting what to say because your ideas are organized. People often think confidence comes from speaking fast and loud, but true confidence comes from clarity and control. A good way to practice slow thinking is to breathe before speaking. One deep breath gives your mind a moment to organize. Another method is to mentally outline your point before expressing it. Not a long outline, just the idea in order. First, what you want to say, then why it matters, then an example. This mental path keeps your speech focused. As you practice slow thinking, you may notice people listen to you more. Your words stand out because they are clear. People may respond more thoughtfully because your communication sets the tone. The way you speak influences how others speak to you. When you communicate with clarity, others follow that pattern. Slow thinking makes conversations meaningful instead of rushed. It brings respect into communication. It helps you say what you truly mean and avoid saying what you don't. It helps you speak with purpose instead of noise. Clarity becomes a habit that shapes your relationships, decisions, and reputation. Smart communication doesn't start with speaking louder or knowing more words. It starts with thinking slowly, choosing carefully, and speaking clearly. When your mind slows down, your words become strong. When your words become strong, people listen. When people listen, you influence. Slow down. Think first. Choose your words. Speak with clarity. This is how you communicate with intelligence and impact. Chapter 5. Speak with purpose, not noise. Many people speak just to fill space. They talk because silence feels uncomfortable or because they want attention. Their words come without intention, and most of what they say holds no real meaning. When you speak without purpose, people stop listening because your words do not offer value. Speaking smartly means speaking with intention. Every sentence should have a reason to exist. When you speak with purpose, your words matter and people pay attention. Speaking with purpose starts with knowing why you are talking in the first place. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself what you want this communication to achieve. Maybe you want to teach something, express how you feel, solve a problem, share information, or build a deeper connection. When you know your purpose, your message becomes organized and clear. People understand you faster and respect what you say because it feels directed and meaningful. Noise happens when there is no clear purpose. People ramble, complain, gossip, brag, or talk in circles without saying anything useful. This type of communication drains energy and wastes time. It creates confusion instead of understanding. Purposeful speech saves time and adds value. It helps people learn from you, trust you, and remember you. To speak with purpose, choose what matters most. In conversations, you don't need to share every detail. You don't need to repeat yourself or explain things that don't support your message. You don't need to talk just because others are talking. You speak when you have something real to say. This makes your words more powerful because people know you don't talk for attention. You talk to make an impact. Speaking with purpose also means speaking from truth, not ego. Sometimes people talk to look smart or important. They speak loudly, interrupt others, or use big words to feel superior. But this is not purposeful communication. This is insecurity trying to be loud. Purposeful speaking is honest, clear, and humble. It focuses on helping others understand, not trying to prove something. Another part of purposeful speech is staying on topic. Many conversations drift off track because people chase random thoughts. They might start talking about one idea and jump to 5 unrelated ideas. This confuses listeners. When you stay focused, your message becomes stronger. You guide the conversation instead of letting it wander. Purpose keeps communication organized. Speaking with purpose also requires emotional control. When emotions take over, words often lose direction. Anger may lead to insults. Stress may lead to over-explaining. Excitement may lead to rushed, unclear speech. When you slow down and understand your intention before speaking, your emotions don't control your message. You express how you feel in a way that others can understand and respond to. Purposeful communication also means speaking when needed and staying silent when not needed. Silence can be powerful. Sometimes silence shows respect. Sometimes silence helps you observe. Sometimes silence helps you understand. Speaking less can make your words carry more meaning because you save speech for moments that matter. The less you waste words, the more valuable your voice becomes. Another way to speak with purpose is to think about how your message affects others. Words can help or harm. They can motivate or discourage. They can bring peace or start arguments. Purposeful speakers think about the effect of their words before they speak. They choose language that builds people up instead of tearing them down. They think about timing, tone, and intention. When people feel safe and respected, communication becomes easier and deeper. Speaking with purpose also helps you solve problems more effectively. When something goes wrong, some people talk a lot, but say nothing helpful. They complain, blame others, or repeat the issue without offering solutions. Purposeful communication focuses on action. It asks, what can we do next? It looks for solutions instead of repeating the problem. This kind of communication moves things forward. Purposeful speech also helps you earn respect. As a communicator, people trust someone who speaks thoughtfully and clearly. They listen to someone who chooses words carefully. They look up to someone who communicates with intention because it shows maturity. Leaders, mentors, and respected figures rarely speak randomly. They speak with focus and clarity because they understand the power of words. To speak purposefully, understand the value of your voice. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Not every situation needs your voice. When you save your words for important moments, people take you more seriously. Your speech becomes a tool, not noise. Speaking with purpose also means thinking about long-term impact. A careless sentence can damage relationships. A thoughtful sentence can heal them. A clear instruction can prevent mistakes. A careless instruction can create confusion. When your words have direction, they create results. They shape your environment and influence how people behave around you. Purposeful communication also helps you express yourself more confidently. When you know exactly why you are speaking, your voice becomes steady. Your message is easier to deliver because you are not guessing. You are leading the conversation instead of reacting to it. People listen to confident speakers because confidence feels like direction. Direction comes from purpose. Another part of purposeful speech is avoiding unnecessary talking. Many people feel pressure to talk in social settings, so they say whatever comes to mind. But you don't need to speak constantly to be part of a conversation. Sometimes listening is more valuable. People appreciate someone who talks when they have something meaningful to add, instead of someone who talks just to be noticed. Purpose also helps you communicate more respectfully. When you talk without purpose, you may interrupt others, cut them off, or shift conversations to yourself. When you speak with purpose, you wait, observe, and contribute thoughtfully. You become someone others feel comfortable talking to, because you create a balanced exchange. Purposeful communication also means preparing before important conversations. If you need to talk to someone about a serious issue, plan your thoughts first. Decide what you want to express and how to express it. When you enter a conversation with clarity, the outcome is more positive. Preparation doesn't remove emotion, but it helps you control it so your message stays clear. Speaking with purpose also means being honest. Truth gives words power. When you say things you don't really mean, your message loses strength. When you speak from your real thoughts and feelings, people feel your sincerity. Honest speech doesn't mean being rude or blunt. It means being real while still being respectful. Purposeful speaking also helps you remember that words have limits. Sometimes action is more powerful than speech. Instead of talking about what you will do, you do it. Instead of explaining your goals, you work toward them. People respect action more than promises. When you speak with purpose, you speak less about what you will do and more from what you have already done. One way to practice purposeful speaking is by pausing before responding. Even 2 seconds can change the direction of your words. In that short moment, you can ask yourself if speaking is necessary, if your message is clear, and if your tone matches your intention. That pause can save relationships, prevent arguments, and improve understanding. Over time, speaking with purpose becomes a habit. You stop wasting words. You stop speaking to impress. You stop filling silence with noise. Your communication becomes stronger because every sentence has direction. People begin to value what you say because your speech becomes rare and meaningful. When you speak with purpose, you become someone people listen to. You become someone whose words carry meaning. You become someone others trust. Smart communication is not about speaking a lot. It is about speaking with intention. Speak to help. Speak to connect. Speak to build. Speak with purpose, not noise. Chapter 6. Understand before you explain. Many people rush to explain their thoughts without first understanding the situation. They want to be heard more than they want to learn. They want others to listen, but they don't take time to listen back. Strong communication is not just about presenting information. It is about understanding what is already happening, so your words can fit the moment. If you speak without understanding, you might give the wrong answer, offer advice no one asked for, or respond in a way that feels disconnected. When you understand first, your words become more accurate, more caring, and more useful. Understanding begins with curiosity. You must want to know what the other person means before sharing your own point. Communication is not a competition of ideas. It is a bridge between perspectives. Before explaining yourself, take time to learn what the other person knows, thinks, or feels. This prevents you from making assumptions, which are often the cause of unnecessary arguments. When you assume, you speak based on your own imagination. When you understand, you speak based on truth. Understanding first is especially important in serious conversations. When someone shares something emotional, many people respond by explaining their own experience or offering solutions immediately. But sometimes people don't want advice. They want to feel heard. They want someone to understand their feelings before suggesting anything. When you move too quickly to explain, it can feel like you are ignoring their emotions. Giving understanding first shows empathy and respect. To understand someone, listen with full attention. Don't listen to reply, listen to know them better. Notice their tone, their expression, their body language, and the emotions behind their words. Sometimes people say something simple, but they feel something much deeper. If someone says they feel tired, the real meaning might be stress, sadness, or confusion. Understanding means hearing more than the literal sentence. Understanding also requires asking the right questions. If something is unclear, ask them to explain more. Ask why something matters to them. Ask what they believe or how they came to a conclusion. These questions help you see their perspective clearly. When you understand the reason behind someone's feelings or ideas, you can respond in a way that fits their reality. When you understand before explaining, communication becomes easier because you speak to their actual needs. If someone is upset because they feel ignored, you don't fix the situation by explaining how busy you were. You fix it by understanding their emotion first and acknowledging it. If someone is confused about a topic, you don't overwhelm them with complex explanations. You understand where their confusion starts and explain from that point. When your message begins where they are, people understand you faster. Understanding first also prevents arguments. Many conflicts happen because two people talk past each other. They think they are disagreeing, but they are actually talking about different parts of the issue. When you understand their focus, you can connect your explanation directly to their concern. Arguments become conversations. Tension turns into clarity. Understanding does not mean you must agree with everything. It simply means you respect the other person enough to know their point before sharing yours. Even if you disagree, your response becomes stronger when it is based on what they actually said, not what you assumed. People are more open to listening when they feel understood first. They drop their defenses because they feel respected. Understanding first also helps you communicate more clearly because it gives you context. If you jump straight into explaining something without knowing what the other person already knows, you may start too far ahead or too far behind. You might explain too much or too little. When you know their knowledge level, you can communicate at the right depth. This saves time and reduces confusion. Another benefit of understanding first is that it makes learning easier. When you understand someone's question fully, you learn how people think and why they think that way. You learn how to communicate with different personalities. You learn how people interpret information. This makes you adaptable in conversations because you understand different ways of thinking, not just your own. Understanding first also builds emotional safety. People feel safe around someone who listens without judgment and responds thoughtfully. They trust you with their thoughts because you don't rush to correct them or shut them down. Emotional safety makes conversations deeper and more honest. People share more and communication becomes real instead of superficial. To practice understanding first, slow down when someone speaks. Don't rush to prove your point. Don't turn the conversation into your story. Give them space to express themselves fully. When they finish, reflect what you heard before adding new ideas. This shows that you value their perspective. It creates balance in communication. Sometimes understanding requires setting aside your own emotions. If someone speaks in a way that triggers you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself. But defending too quickly can block understanding. Instead, pause and ask yourself what they are trying to express. Their tone may be emotional, but the meaning might be something deeper. Understanding requires patience and emotional control. Understanding first also helps in leadership. Leaders who explain without understanding often lose their teams. They give directions that don't match what people need. They push goals without understanding struggles. They make decisions without knowing the full picture. But leaders who listen first inspire trust, respect, and commitment. People follow leaders who understand them, not leaders who only talk. Understanding first also applies to teaching. A good teacher does not start with information. They start by understanding what students know, where they struggle, and how they learn. When you understand the learner, your explanation becomes simple, relatable, and effective. Teaching is not about showing how much you know. It is about helping others understand. Understanding first even applies to self-expression. Before explaining your feelings to someone, understand why you feel that way. Many people speak from raw emotion without understanding their own thoughts. They say things they regret because they didn't process their feelings first. When you understand yourself, your communication becomes clearer and kinder. Understanding first strengthens relationships. When people feel understood, they open their hearts, they trust more, they communicate honestly, they listen back. Relationships grow when both sides feel seen, not when both sides fight to be right. Understanding is the foundation of connection. Understanding first also protects your peace. When you understand someone's perspective, you realize that not every disagreement is personal. Sometimes people react from their own experiences, stress, or confusion. When you understand that, you take things less personally and respond with patience instead of anger. The habit of understanding before explaining turns communication into cooperation. You don't just exchange words, you work together to understand each other. Conversations become more meaningful, more productive, and more respectful. Speak after you understand. Learn before you teach. Listen before you respond. This is how communication becomes powerful and thoughtful. Chapter 7. Remove emotional noise from your words. People often say the right message in the wrong way because their emotions take over their speech. When you feel angry, tired, jealous, or stressed, your words can come out sharper than you intend. You may speak faster, louder, or with a tone that pushes people away. The message might be honest, but the delivery becomes harmful. Emotional noise blocks clear communication. When you learn to separate your message from the emotional energy behind it, your words reach people more effectively. Emotional noise doesn't mean emotions are bad. Emotions are natural and important. They help you connect, express your feelings, and show honesty. The problem is when emotion becomes louder than meaning. When feelings lead the conversation, words lose clarity. If you want people to understand your message instead of reacting to your mood, you must learn to control the emotional noise around your words. Imagine you want to explain a problem to someone, but you are already frustrated. You might raise your voice, interrupt them, or say something rude. Instead of fixing the issue, the conversation becomes a fight. The problem is no longer the problem. Now the tone is the problem. When you remove emotional noise, you talk about the issue itself, not your frustration. Removing emotional noise starts with self-awareness. You need to recognize what you are feeling before you speak. If you feel angry, admit it to yourself. If you feel anxious or disrespected, notice that feeling. When you name your emotions privately, they become easier to control. People who ignore or deny their emotions often explode without realizing why. Understanding yourself is the first step to clear communication. A helpful habit is pausing before responding when you feel emotional. Even a short pause gives your mind time to calm down. You can breathe, think, and choose your words instead of reacting from instinct. Many arguments could disappear if people used a few seconds to pause instead of reacting immediately. A pause protects your relationships and gives you a chance to speak with clarity. Another way to remove emotional noise is to speak from facts rather than assumptions. Emotions often make small issues feel bigger. You may think someone was rude or didn't care when they actually misunderstood you. Instead of saying you never listened, say I felt unheard when you looked away while I talked. The first sentence attacks the person. The second expresses your experience. The emotion is still present, but the message is clearer and more respectful. Speaking calmly also helps you remove emotional noise. Calm doesn't mean emotionless. Calm means balanced. When you speak calmly, people listen more carefully because they don't feel threatened. Your tone matters as much as your words. A soft tone can carry strong truths. A harsh tone can destroy a good message. People respond to tone faster than content. If your tone feels like an attack, they defend themselves instead of listening. Removing emotional noise also means listening even when you feel upset. When you feel emotional, your mind wants to talk, explain, and defend. But listening first helps you understand what the other person thinks, which reduces emotional intensity. When you hear their side, you realize you might have reacted too fast. Understanding reduces anger, because confusion and assumptions are often the true cause of emotional reactions. It's also important to separate your identity from the situation. When someone disagrees with you, it doesn't mean they are attacking your worth. When someone gives feedback, it doesn't mean they hate you. Emotional noise happens when you feel personally attacked, even when the conversation is not about your character. When you detach emotion from identity, you can discuss issues more logically. Another way to reduce emotional noise is to express feelings directly instead of hiding them under sarcasm, passive comments, or silent treatment. These indirect behaviors increase confusion and tension. Clear emotional expression sounds like "I felt hurt when you cancelled," without telling me, instead of "Wow, you must be really busy," ignoring me. The first opens a calm conversation. The second starts a fight. Removing emotional noise helps you speak with maturity. Maturity is not about being serious all the time. It is about handling emotions responsibly. Anyone can speak clearly when they feel good. The real test is speaking clearly when you feel upset. This skill makes you someone others can rely on, even in stressful moments. Removing emotional noise also protects your relationships. When you reduce unnecessary emotional reactions, people feel safer talking to you. They don't feel afraid that simple conversations will turn into arguments. They trust that you will respond thoughtfully. This deepens connection and reduces stress in communication. Emotional control also benefits professional communication. At work or school, speaking with emotional noise can make you look unprepared or unprofessional. If you bring anger or frustration into every conversation, people may avoid working with you. When you express yourself clearly and calmly, people see you as a problem solver, not a problem creator. This helps you earn leadership roles and respect. Removing emotional noise also improves decision-making. When emotions control speech, they often control decisions too. You may agree to things you don't want, say things you regret, or defend positions you don't believe. When you calm your emotions before speaking, you think more logically and make choices that support your goals instead of your temporary feelings. Sometimes emotional noise comes from past experiences, not the current situation. Maybe someone raises their voice and it reminds you of a painful memory. Maybe someone ignores a message and you feel abandoned because of past relationships. When this happens, your reaction may be bigger than the situation. Understanding your emotional history can help you speak about the present instead of reacting from old wounds. To remove emotional noise, you can also change your physical state. When emotions rise, your body reacts, your heart beats faster, your breathing changes, your shoulders tense. Changing your body can calm your mind. Sitting down, drinking water, breathing deeply, or relaxing your muscles helps your speech become clearer. Your body supports your communication more than you realize. Another helpful habit is to communicate about feelings early instead of waiting until they build up. When emotions stay inside, they grow stronger and eventually explode in unhealthy ways. If something bothers you, talk about it while it's small. Calm conversations prevent emotional pressure from turning into conflict. Removing emotional noise also means recognizing when you need time alone. Not every discussion must happen immediately. If you feel overwhelmed, it's okay to take a break. You can say, "I need a moment to think before we talk about this," instead of reacting while emotional. This creates space for clearer communication instead of saying things you may regret. When you learn to remove emotional noise, you don't lose your feelings, you learn to guide them. Your emotions become part of your message, not the boss of your message. You don't hide your feelings, you express them with clarity and respect. This makes you powerful, not silent. Over time, people will notice the difference. They will see you as steady, respectful, thoughtful, and strong. They will come to you for advice because they know you can handle emotional conversations with maturity. Your communication will feel safe, wise, and clear. Your emotions deserve respect, but so do your words. When you control your emotional noise, your voice becomes something people trust, remember, and learn from. Speak from your mind and heart, not from a moment of emotional reaction. Speak with clarity, not chaos. Chapter 8. Choose words that match your intent. Words are tools, and every tool creates a different result. You might have the right intentions, but if you choose the wrong words, the message changes. Communication becomes powerful when your words match the purpose of your message. Many people fail to communicate not because they don't care or don't know what to say, but because their words send a different message than what they meant. You may try to be honest but sound rude. Try to help but sound controlling. Try to express love but sound distant. When your words and intentions don't match, people misunderstand you. Matching your words to your intent starts with knowing what you want the result of your message to be. If you want to comfort someone, your words should feel warm, gentle, and calm. If you want to teach someone, your words should be clear, simple, and structured. If you want to motivate someone, your words should feel strong, energetic, and confident. Words shape emotional impact, and the emotional impact shapes how people respond. Sometimes people speak with good intentions, but expect others to just understand. They think their feelings will be obvious. They assume tone doesn't matter. But communication doesn't work that way. People don't hear your intentions, they hear your words. If the words don't match the intention, listeners respond to what they heard, not what you meant. When this happens, people say things like, "You misunderstood me," or "That's not what I meant." Instead of blaming others, it is better to choose words that make your intention clear from the beginning. Choosing words that match your intent also helps prevent unnecessary conflict. If you want to express a problem, you could attack someone, or you could describe how you feel without hurting them. Instead of saying "you always make things worse," you might say "I felt stressed when plans changed suddenly." The first sentence creates defense. The second opens a conversation. The problem is the same, but the words change the outcome. Word choice also affects trust. People trust speakers who choose words carefully because it shows responsibility. If your words are careless, emotional, or vague, people may see you as unpredictable. But if your words are thoughtful and consistent with your intentions, people rely on you because they know what to expect. Trust grows when your words reflect honesty, respect, and clarity. Choosing words that match your intent also helps you avoid manipulation. Sometimes people use unclear or passive language to control others without taking responsibility. They choose words that hide their real intentions. But manipulation breaks trust and damages relationships over time. Clear communication is honest about intentions, even when the conversation is uncomfortable. Matching words to intent also requires emotional awareness. If you feel angry, your words may come out stronger than you plan. You may express frustration when you actually want understanding. When emotions speak louder than meaning, the message changes. Staying aware of what you feel helps you choose words that communicate the right balance of emotion and clarity. You don't have to hide how you feel, but you also don't let emotion rewrite your message. Choosing words that match intent also means using language that fits the person you are speaking to. Some people need soft words to feel safe. Others need direct words to understand quickly. Some people understand short, simple sentences. Others need detail and explanation. When you understand who you are speaking to, you can shape your words to reach them instead of speaking only from your perspective. Another part of matching intention to words is timing. You might choose the right words, but if you say them at the wrong moment, they won't have the effect you want. If someone is angry or crying, they may not be ready for advice. If someone is overwhelmed, they may not want long explanations. Sometimes the right words need the right time to work. Choosing words also means understanding tone. Tone is how your voice carries emotion. You might say the same sentence with a calm tone or a sarcastic tone, and the meaning changes completely. Tone can turn a helpful message into an insult. Paying attention to tone helps your words deliver the emotion you intend, not the emotion you accidentally express. Matching intent to words also means avoiding unnecessary exaggeration. People often use words like always, never, or everyone when they are emotional. They exaggerate to express how strongly they feel, but exaggeration makes communication less accurate. It can make the listener feel attacked or misunderstood. Clear communication uses words that reflect the real situation, not emotional exaggeration. Choosing words carefully also helps in serious conversations. When you want to resolve conflict, the goal should be peace and clarity, not winning. If your intention is to fix the issue, your words should focus on solutions, not blame. If your intention is to share how you feel, your words should describe your experience, not attack someone's character. Many arguments begin because the speaker wants understanding, but uses words that sound like criticism. Word choice affects how people see you. Someone who speaks clearly looks confident. Someone who speaks kindly looks compassionate. Someone who speaks thoughtfully looks wise. You are not only communicating information, you are communicating who you are. The way you speak shapes your reputation. Choosing words that match intent also helps in leadership. Leaders inspire people not just by ideas, but by how they express them. If your goal is to motivate a team, your words should lift people up, not point out everything wrong. If your goal is to guide someone, your words should direct, not confuse. Leadership depends on communication, and communication depends on matching words to purpose. This skill also affects personal relationships. If you want someone to feel loved, your words must show love, not distance. If you want someone to feel respected, your words must show respect, not control. If you want someone to feel safe, your words must be gentle, not sharp. Relationships grow when words reflect care and understanding. Choosing words carefully also protects your future. Words can damage opportunities when spoken without thought. Teachers, employers, partners, and friends judge you based on how you communicate. A careless sentence can break trust, but thoughtful words can open doors. When your language matches your purpose, you move closer to your goals instead of away from them. To improve your word choice, start by asking yourself simple questions before speaking. What do I want from this conversation? What emotion do I want the other person to feel? What is the most honest way to express this thought? These questions create awareness. Awareness improves communication. Another helpful practice is to speak slower. When you slow down, you hear your words as you speak them. You can adjust mid-sentence if something feels wrong. You have more control over tone, wording, and emotional balance. Slow words carry more intention. Fast words carry more emotion. Matching intentions to words also becomes easier when you practice expressing thoughts in different ways. The same idea can be said with kindness, directness, humor, or detail. When you learn to express yourself in more than one style, you become a flexible communicator. Flexibility makes your message reach more people. Over time, choosing the right words becomes natural. People will notice. They will say you speak clearly, calmly, and respectfully. They will feel understood and valued when talking to you. Your words will represent your intentions accurately, and communication will feel smoother. When words match intentions, conversations move forward. They heal instead of harm. They teach instead of confuse. They connect instead of divide. This skill makes your voice more powerful because people can trust that your words carry your true meaning. Speak what you mean. Choose words that reflect your heart, your goals, and your truth. Your communication becomes strong when your words and intentions walk in the same direction. Chapter 9. Speak less, mean more. Some people believe that talking more makes them sound smarter, but it often has the opposite effect. The more someone talks without purpose, the less people listen. Long explanations, repeating the same point, filling silence with unnecessary words, or speaking only to feel important can weaken your message. Speaking less is not about saying nothing. It is about saying what truly matters. When you speak less but with intention, your words carry more strength, more clarity, and more respect. Speaking less begins with knowing that silence is not your enemy. Many people fear silence, so they rush to fill it. They talk out of nervousness, not meaning. Silence is space for thinking, understanding, and emotional processing. It gives depth to communication. When you pause instead of rushing, both you and the listener have time to understand each other. Silence can make your next words more powerful because they don't arrive crowded with noise. Speaking less also creates curiosity. When you share only what matters, people pay closer attention. They want to hear more because you don't give everything at once. People value what is rare. If you speak constantly, your voice becomes background noise. If you speak when needed, your voice becomes memorable. Another reason to speak less is because it helps avoid unnecessary conflict. Many arguments grow because someone says something extra that wasn't needed. A small disagreement becomes a fight because one person talks too long, adds more complaints, or brings up old issues. When you speak only what is relevant, conversations stay focused. You don't add fuel to emotional flames. Speaking less also helps you protect your privacy. Not everything needs to be shared with everyone. Oversharing can make you vulnerable in the wrong situations. When you speak less, you control who knows what about you. Your personal thoughts become valuable instead of easily available. You keep your boundaries strong. Another benefit of speaking less is that it gives others more room to speak. Communication is not just expressing yourself, it is creating space for others too. Some people dominate conversations and don't let others share their thoughts. This can make people feel ignored or unimportant. When you speak less, you allow others to feel heard. They open up more because you give them room. Speaking less also forces your words to be more direct. When you limit how much you say, you naturally choose stronger sentences. Instead of repeating, you focus on clarity. Instead of long explanations, you choose simple statements. Simple communication stays in people's minds longer because it is easy to remember. This habit also helps in serious discussions. When emotions are high, fewer words are better. Too many words can sound defensive or emotional. A short, calm statement can have more impact, like "I need a moment" or "I hear you. Let's figure this out." These short sentences help people stay focused on the problem instead of getting lost in emotional language. Speaking less improves confidence. People who talk too much often talk from insecurity. They want to prove something or avoid discomfort. People who speak less often speak from confidence. They don't need to explain themselves endlessly. Their words show self-control, which makes others respect them more. Confident communication feels steady, not loud. Speaking less also makes listening easier. When you are not focused on what you will say next, you can pay attention to the other person. You notice tone, emotion, details, and meaning. Better listening leads to better responses. Listening is not a break before your next line. Listening is communication. The less you focus on talking, the more you learn. Speaking less can also make teaching more effective. A teacher who talks non-stop overwhelms students. A teacher who explains clearly and pauses gives time for understanding. The same is true in parenting, relationships, and leadership. People absorb information better in pieces, not long speeches. When you speak less and ask more questions, you help others think instead of just receive. To speak less, you must understand that impact is more important than length. A short sentence can change someone's life. A short apology can fix a relationship. A short idea can inspire a team. Long speeches are not always powerful. What matters is how deeply words connect with someone. Speaking less doesn't mean staying silent when your voice is needed. It means avoiding noise and focusing on value. There are moments where speaking up is essential, like defending someone, sharing an idea, or expressing feelings. The goal is balance. Talk when your words can help. Stay quiet when they add nothing. One way to practice speaking less is to stop repeating yourself. If your point has been made, let it stand. Repeating the same idea often comes from fear that others didn't get it. Trust your words. If someone needs clarity, they will ask. If they don't ask, repeating won't help. Another way is to pause before speaking. A short pause lets you check if your words matter. If the message doesn't add value, you can choose silence. Silence can be your filter. Only what passes through the filter becomes speech. Speaking less also helps you avoid impulsive words. When you talk fast, emotions take over. When you talk less, you have more time to think. This protects you from saying things you regret. People rarely regret silence, but they often regret emotional words. Speaking less also trains people to listen. When you do speak, if you talk constantly, people tune out. If you speak selectively, people focus. They know that when you speak, there is meaning. This skill also helps you observe more. When you speak less, you notice body language, small reactions, and hidden feelings. These details help you respond more accurately. Communication becomes deeper because you understand what others are not saying, not just what they say. Speaking less is also important for personal growth. When you stop explaining yourself constantly, you protect your energy. You don't waste time convincing people who don't want to understand. You save your voice for people who listen. Speaking less can even improve mental health. Constant talking spreads your thoughts outward. Silence helps you process emotions internally. You learn to think for yourself without needing external validation. Silence creates a space inside you to reflect, heal, and grow. Over time, speaking less and meaning more becomes a natural communication style. People experience you as calm, thoughtful, and grounded. You become the person others listen to because you don't speak without reason. Your words feel like a choice, not a habit. Your voice carries weight when it is not used carelessly. Every sentence becomes intentional. Every message becomes clearer. People respect your communication because it feels valuable, not noisy. Speak when your words bring clarity, kindness, strength, or truth. Let silence hold everything else. When you speak less, but mean more, your words begin to shape people, not just pass by them. Chapter 10. Train your mind to listen beyond words. People often think communication is mostly about speaking, but real communication begins with listening. When you listen deeply, you understand people better, respond wisely, and speak with more purpose. Many people hear sounds, but they don't truly listen. They wait for their turn to talk, they interrupt, or they listen only to defend their point. Listening beyond words means hearing more than sentences. It means paying attention to emotions, tone, silence, and what a person is trying to say even if they don't know how to express it. Listening beyond words helps you understand the real meaning behind someone's message. Sometimes people cannot explain exactly what they feel. They say small things that hide big emotions. They may say they are fine, but their voice sounds tired. They may say they are busy when they actually feel overwhelmed. Listening deeply helps you notice what words alone do not show. When you understand the meaning behind the message, you connect at a deeper level. A great listener doesn't assume they already know what someone means. They stay curious. They stay open. They let the speaker finish without jumping to conclusions. When you listen with curiosity, conversations feel safe because the other person doesn't feel judged. They feel seen and understood. People open up more to listeners who care, not listeners who wait to answer. Listening beyond words also means giving your full attention. People can tell when you are listening with your mind somewhere else. If you check your phone, look away, or mentally prepare a response while someone is talking, they feel ignored. Even if you hear the words, you miss the connection. Giving attention means staying present in the moment. Your eyes, face, and body show that you care. Your silence shows patience. Your focus shows respect. To listen deeply, you must quiet your inner voice. Many people listen with a voice in their head saying what they should say next, or how to argue back. This inner voice blocks true listening. When you learn to silence that voice, you hear more of the speaker and less of yourself. You understand their world instead of defending your own. Listening becomes an act of humility. Listening beyond words also means understanding tone. Tone carries emotion, and emotion carries truth. A sentence said softly can mean fear. The same sentence said sharply can mean anger. Words without tone are like text messages without context. They can be misunderstood. Paying attention to tone helps you respond to feelings, not just information. Body language also speaks loudly. The way someone sits, moves, looks, or pauses tells their emotional state. If someone avoids eye contact, they might feel nervous or unsure. If someone moves their hands a lot, they might feel excited or anxious. If someone pauses before speaking, they might be choosing their words carefully. When you notice body language, you understand communication at a deeper level. Listening deeply also helps you speak with more impact. When you understand what someone truly needs, you can answer with words that help, not just words that fill space. You speak to their heart, not just their ears. Your words become more thoughtful because they are based on real understanding, not assumptions. Listening beyond words is also helpful in resolving conflict. Many arguments continue because people want to be right instead of understanding each other. When both sides talk without listening, the conflict grows. But when at least one person stops to truly understand, tension drops. The other person feels seen, and the conversation shifts from fighting to solving. Sometimes people don't need solutions. They need someone to hear their feelings before solutions make sense. Listening deeply also requires patience. You might want to finish someone's sentence because you think you know what they will say, but interrupting breaks trust. People want to finish their own thoughts. Letting them speak at their pace shows respect. It tells them their voice matters. Listening beyond words also helps you learn. Every person you meet knows something you don't. They have experiences, lessons, and ideas that can open your mind. If you talk more than you listen, you miss these lessons. Listening turns conversations into education. It turns people into teachers. The smartest people listen more because they know knowledge flows toward a quiet mind. Sometimes deep listening means asking gentle questions. Not questions to control the conversation, but questions that help someone express more clearly. Questions like, "What made you feel that way?" or "Tell me more about that." show curiosity without pressure. These questions help uncover deeper meaning and make the speaker feel safe. Listening beyond words also means resisting the urge to fix everything. Many people rush to give advice when others talk, but sometimes advice is not needed. Sometimes people just want someone to sit beside their feelings. Giving advice too fast can make someone feel unheard, like their feelings are being replaced with solutions. Deep listening accepts feelings before offering suggestions. Listening also helps strengthen relationships. People feel closer to those who understand them. When you listen closely, people trust you more. They share more honestly. They rely on you emotionally. Communication becomes deeper because listening builds connection more than speaking does. Listening beyond words improves leadership. A strong leader listens to understand the needs of others, not just to give directions. Leaders who listen learn what motivates people, what blocks progress, and what ideas others have. When people feel heard by a leader, they feel valued and work harder. Listening also helps in difficult conversations. When someone is hurting or upset, listening helps calm them. They may cry, pause, or struggle to speak. Letting them express their feelings without pushing or rushing builds emotional safety. When a person feels understood, they relax enough to find solutions. Listening goes beyond hearing others. It includes listening to yourself. You need to hear your own thoughts, feelings, and instincts. Many people ignore their inner voice and end up confused or stressed. When you listen to yourself, you notice your needs and understand your reactions better. This self-awareness helps you communicate honestly. Listening beyond words can also help you recognize hidden opportunities. When you hear what people want, you can create value. Businesses grow by listening to customers. Friendships grow by listening to feelings. Growth always begins with understanding. Right now, many people speak loudly, but listen quietly. If you choose to listen deeply, you will stand out. People will enjoy talking to you. They will trust you with their real thoughts. They will see you as thoughtful, calm, and emotionally intelligent. To train yourself to listen beyond words, practice being present. When someone speaks, give them the moment fully. Don't rush to answer. Don't judge. Don't drift. Focus on their experience, not your reaction. When they finish, respond in a way that shows you understood, like "I hear you," or "that makes sense," or "I understand why you feel that way." These responses validate feelings before sharing your thoughts. Over time, deep listening becomes your natural communication style. Your conversations become richer. Your relationships become deeper. Your responses become wiser because they rise from understanding instead of habit. You learn more about people, and people feel more connected to you. True communication is not about speaking a lot. It is about understanding deeply. When you listen beyond words, you unlock meaning that others miss. You speak less from reaction and more from insight. You become someone people trust, follow, and remember. Your voice gains power when your ears gain patience. Listen with your mind, not just your ears. Listen to feelings, not just sentences. Listen to understand, not to answer. When you master listening, you master connection. Chapter 11. Build respect through calm and steady communication. People respect voices that stay steady, especially when situations are tense. Anyone can speak clearly when life is calm, but communication shows true strength when emotions rise, when things go wrong, or when someone challenges you. Calm communication does not mean staying quiet or holding back your feelings. It means choosing to respond with control instead of reacting with impulse. When your words stay steady, people listen differently. They trust you more, they feel safe around you, and they take your message seriously. Calm communication begins with understanding that you do not have to match someone else's energy. If someone speaks loudly, you don't have to raise your voice. If someone is angry, you don't have to respond with anger. When you match their emotion, the conversation becomes a battle. When you stay steady, you guide the tone. You show that emotions don't control you. Your calm becomes a signal that the discussion will stay respectful and safe. Being calm doesn't mean you feel calm inside. Sometimes your heart beats fast, your thoughts race, or your feelings rise quickly. But speaking calmly is a skill that lets you lead with your values instead of your emotions. You decide how you want the conversation to move, instead of letting the moment decide for you. This self-control helps you express thoughts more clearly, because your mind isn't fighting your emotions. Calm communication also helps people trust you. When others know you won't explode, judge, or react aggressively, they feel more comfortable opening up. People share honest thoughts with those who control their reactions, but when someone reacts strongly, others hide their feelings. They choose silence over truth. To avoid being hurt, trust grows where calmness lives. Being calm doesn't make you weak. Some people think raising their voice or speaking aggressively earns respect. It may demand attention, but it doesn't earn respect. Real respect comes from consistency and control. People might fear loudness, but they trust steadiness. Calm people lead, not because they are louder, but because they think clearly when others panic. Calm communication also helps in situations where someone misunderstands you. When someone takes your words the wrong way, reacting fast can make things worse. Taking a moment to breathe, ask questions, and understand their side prevents conflict from growing. Instead of defending immediately, you can say something like, "Tell me what you understood from what I said." That simple sentence opens space for clarity instead of turning into a fight. Sometimes people expect you to react emotionally. They might push you, insult you, or try to start conflict. If you stay calm, their attempt loses power. You protect your peace by not letting someone drag you into their emotional state. Your calm becomes a boundary. You are saying without words that you won't play their emotional game. Calm communication also helps you protect your dignity. When you speak while angry, you might say things you regret. You might apologize later, but the words still leave an impact. People remember how you made them feel. When you stay calm, you avoid causing unnecessary harm. You protect both the relationship and your own integrity. To communicate calmly, you must understand your emotional triggers. Triggers are things that make you react quickly. Maybe someone interrupting you makes you angry. Maybe someone ignoring your message makes you feel disrespected. When you know your triggers, you can prepare your response instead of reacting instantly. The trigger becomes a signal to slow down, not to explode. Another way to stay calm is to speak slower. When your emotions rise, your voice may speed up. Slowing down your words helps your mind slow down too. It gives you time to think. It helps the listener absorb the message instead of reacting to your tone. Slow speech shows control. Breathing also helps. When tension rises, your body reacts first. Your breath becomes short and fast. Slowing your breathing brings your emotions back to balance. A calm body supports a calm voice. Your physical state shapes your communication more than most people realize. Calm communication also means choosing words that are neutral and clear instead of emotional and dramatic. When you're upset, it's easy to say things like, "You never listen," or "You always make me feel bad." These words attack the person instead of describing the issue. Calm communication focuses on the situation, not the person's character. It helps you express truth without damage. Staying calm also means not rushing to fill emotional silence. Sometimes silence feels uncomfortable, especially in conflict. People start talking fast to fill the space, but silence can give both people time to think. You don't have to answer instantly. A few seconds of quiet can save you from saying something harmful. Another part of calm communication is letting go of the need to win. Conversations are not battles. You don't need to prove that you're right every time. Sometimes peace is more important than winning. When you focus on understanding instead of victory, communication becomes productive. You solve problems instead of collecting points. Calm communication also means knowing when to pause a difficult conversation. Not every discussion needs to happen in the heat of the moment. If you feel overwhelmed, it is not weakness to say, "I need time to think before we continue." This protects both you and the relationship. Taking breaks shows responsibility, not avoidance. Calm speech also changes how people see you in professional settings. Someone who stays composed under pressure appears reliable. When others panic, the calm person becomes the leader even without a title. People trust you to make decisions. Your voice becomes a source of direction. Calmness also helps you think more clearly. When you react emotionally, your mind narrows. You defend yourself, not the idea. When you stay calm, your mind stays open. You can understand other perspectives, find better solutions, and avoid regretful words. Calm communication supports smart thinking. This skill also protects your personal boundaries. When someone tries to force you into a conversation you are not ready for, staying calm helps you say no without guilt. You can say, "I'm not able to discuss this right now," instead of reacting emotionally. Calmness gives you power without conflict. Over time, speaking calmly becomes a habit. You will notice people respond to you differently. They will bring serious conversations to you because they know you won't turn small issues into explosions. They will trust your words because you don't throw them like weapons. They will feel safe being honest with you. Calm communication doesn't make life perfect. You will still face conflict, stress, and misunderstandings, but you will face them with self-control instead of chaos. You will not lose respect for yourself because of what you say in anger. You will not damage relationships unintentionally. Your voice becomes a steady place for others. Your words become gentle even when they are strong. Your presence becomes peaceful even when situations are hard. Respect is not earned by volume. It is earned by control. Speak with calm strength, not emotional noise. When your voice stays steady, people listen. They trust you. And that trust becomes the foundation of meaningful communication. Chapter 12. Speak to influence, not to impress. People often talk to impress others. They try to sound smart, use complicated words, or speak in ways that make them appear important. They talk to show what they know, rather than trying to help someone understand. This kind of communication may get attention for a moment, but it doesn't leave a lasting impact. True influence doesn't come from sounding special. It comes from saying things that matter to people in a way they can use in their own lives. When you speak to influence, your goal is to change minds, open thinking, and move people toward action. Speaking to influence begins with caring about what the listener needs, not just what you want to say. Communication becomes stronger when your words serve a purpose beyond your ego. Before speaking, you can ask yourself a simple question: what do I want this person to feel or understand after I speak? That question shifts focus from self-image to impact. It helps you choose words that connect instead of words that show off. When you speak to impress, you talk for attention. When you speak to influence, you talk for connection. Connection makes messages stick because people feel like you understand them. They trust you more. They listen not because they have to, but because they believe you have something meaningful to share. Influence begins with that trust. Influence also comes from speaking simply. Simple language is not childish. It is powerful because it is easy to remember and repeat. When people understand your message clearly, they can share it with others. Complex language may make you sound intelligent, but simple language makes your ideas travel. The easiest ideas to spread are the ideas that are easy to repeat. Speaking to influence requires clarity of thought. You can't guide others if you are confused yourself. When your thinking is organized, your words follow naturally. You choose sentences that make sense instead of sentences that sound impressive. Clarity shows maturity because it focuses on meaning instead of decoration. People respect speakers who can explain things simply because it shows deep understanding. Another part of influence is speaking with confidence. Confidence doesn't mean being loud, dramatic, or forceful. Confidence comes from certainty in what you are saying. It is a calm belief in your message. When you speak with calm confidence, people feel guided instead of pushed. They pay attention because your voice carries intention, not insecurity. To influence others, you must understand what moves them. People are influenced by emotion, not just logic. Facts may inform people, but emotions make them care. When you speak to influence, you don't ignore emotion. You speak to the heart and mind at the same time. You respect feelings without letting them control the conversation. You express ideas in a way that makes people feel understood, motivated, or inspired to act. Influence requires emotional awareness. If someone is stressed, angry, or sad, they may not be ready to hear advice or change their mindset. A strong communicator adjusts their message based on the listener's state. Sometimes the most influential thing you can do is listen before speaking. When people feel heard, they become open to what comes next. People are more influenced by communication that feels honest. If you exaggerate, make things sound perfect, or try too hard to impress, people feel manipulated. They may listen politely, but they don't trust what you say. When your words are grounded in honesty, people see you as reliable. You don't need to decorate the truth to make it powerful. Reality itself has power. Speaking to influence also means knowing when not to speak. Silence can guide people to think for themselves. When you talk constantly, you take away space for the listener to process. When you pause, people reflect. Reflection creates understanding. Understanding creates change. Sometimes influence comes not from words, but from giving others the room to see their own truth. Another part of influence is consistency. Your words matter more when your actions match them. If you speak about patience but act impatient, people ignore your message. If you speak about discipline but show none, people doubt you. Words become powerful when they reflect who you are, not who you pretend to be. Influence grows from alignment between speech and behavior. Influence also grows when you speak with empathy. People are influenced when they feel respected, not judged. If you speak from a place of superiority, your message feels like pressure. If you speak from understanding, your message feels like support. Influence is not about lifting yourself above others, it is about lifting others with you. To influence effectively, you must remove the need to be liked. If your goal is to impress, you may say what people want to hear. Influence sometimes requires saying things people need to hear, even if they might resist. Honest truth spoken with care can change lives more than comfortable words spoken for approval. Influence prioritizes growth over comfort. Speaking to influence also requires patience. People don't change instantly. You may plant a seed with your words, and the change might happen later. You don't speak to force transformation, you speak to start it. The impact may show slowly, and that is still powerful. Influence grows when you speak from experience, not theory. People listen more when you have lived what you talk about. Your words feel real because they come from your own journey. You don't have to tell stories to impress. You tell stories to show that change is possible. Experience turns advice into proof. Influence requires you to speak with purpose. Every sentence matters. Every idea has direction. You don't speak to fill time. You speak to lead someone somewhere. Purpose gives your words weight. People feel it because you talk like someone who knows where they are going. Another part of influence is learning to communicate without needing to dominate. Influence is not control. You don't force people to agree with you. You give them a new way to think, and they choose on their own. When people feel free, they open their minds. When they feel controlled, they resist. Powerful communication leaves space for others to share their thoughts. It invites dialogue instead of controlling the conversation. Influence grows through shared understanding, not one-sided speech. You don't need to have the final word. Sometimes influence comes from ending the conversation at the right moment. Speaking to influence also means staying humble. Humility makes your words relatable. When you speak as a learner, not a master, people connect with you. Humility means you share ideas, not commands. You inspire, not instruct. People follow humble voices because they feel included, not looked down on. Influence happens when your message speaks to real human experiences. You don't try to sound perfect. You speak in a way that reflects real struggles, real emotions, and real growth. When people see themselves in your words, they change. When they feel judged or lectured, they shut down. The most powerful communicators don't speak to impress the room. They speak to impact someone's heart. They know words are not decoration, words are direction, words are leadership, words are bridges between minds. Influence also comes from speaking with responsibility. Words have consequences. What you say can shape decisions, behaviors, and beliefs. When you speak with care, people know your voice is safe. They trust that you don't use your words carelessly. Over time, your communication becomes less about being noticed and more about making a difference. People will remember how your words help them think differently. They will remember how you made them feel understood. They will repeat your ideas because those ideas meant something to them. You don't have to sound special. You just have to speak with purpose. When you speak to influence, your voice becomes something people follow, not just hear. Your words live longer because they have direction, clarity, honesty, and heart. Speak to move people forward, not to make yourself look ahead. Influence is earned through meaning, not performance. Let your words change minds. Let them open hearts. Let them guide people to think deeper and live wiser. When you speak to influence, not to impress, your voice becomes a force that people trust, remember, and carry with them long after the conversation ends.